Hi, I'm going to show you how to make a starfish. Okay, so making stars is kind of tricky. My students struggle with it, so I want to show you a simple way to do it, but end up with a starfish in the end. I'm taking my lump of clay and I'm patty caking it out. Whenever you want to roll and flatten a piece of clay, it's good to patty cake it a little bit. The clay is typically sitting in a bag for a long time and kind of gets sediment and stuck in that shape. So it's good to patty cake it and loosen it with your hands. This is an earthenware clay that needs to be fired in the kiln. But again, you could use air dry clay, and homemade clay if you'd like. I'm taking my rolling pin and I'm rolling the clay out, lifting at the edge each time and rotating and loosening the clay from the canvas covered board so that it doesn't get stuck. There's moisture in the clay and it would stick to the canvas of the board if you keep rolling back and forth repeatedly without removing the clay from the board. So I've got my clay rolled out. I'm not rolling it out paper thin or, really super thin. I want it to have some thickness because starfish actually have some thickness to them. So what I really want to cover today is how you can make a star shape, a nice even star shape. My students struggle with this a lot, and I've come up with, I think, a nice easy plan to help them. I'm going to start by just creating a super soft, light circle. And you don't even have to do this. You can skip this step, but I think this is just a little bit of a helpful guide. I just traced a little circle in the middle of my clay. And then I took a piece of paper and cut out an isosceles triangle, just a simple little isosceles triangle, so that each one of the spokes of the star are going to match by having one pattern to follow. So I'm going to lay my triangle pattern on my clay, kind of lined up with the edge of the circle. And then I'm going to continually work my way around, tracing just the point of the triangle. There's no need to trace the base of the triangle. And I'm only using that circle in the middle as kind of a guide, not a hard guide. I'm letting the triangle ends overlap a little bit as I trace. And there we go. Not too bad. A pretty even star shape. That's what we're looking for. And so this idea can be used if you're making something patriotic or if you just like stars. It's really constantly brought up with my students that they struggle making an even 5-point star. So I hope this helps. I'm tracing with my needle tool, cutting all the way through, removing those extra pieces. And I always cover up my clay because I don't want it drying out when I'm not using it. So now I have a whole bunch of sharp edges that I can't stand. I always want to pat down those sharp edges using my dry, clean hands. No need to wet the clay. If you wet the clay, you're going to actually add fingerprints, wet, sticky fingerprints. Best is to just keep moving and working forward in your project so the clay doesn't dry out too much, because then it ends up cracking. So just keep working it and get the project done before the clay has time to dry, but get those edges all patted down and rounded nice and gently everywhere. If it feels like a 90-degree angle under your fingers, you got to pat that down because that will become razor sharp when it's fired, once it's fired in the kiln. If you're using air dry clay, it's not a risky, dangerous thing. Okay, so I just happen to have a broken tool here that's got a hollowed out end, but you could use the end of pencil, you could use an open Bic pen. The idea for a starfish next is to texture it. Just texture it like crazy, just repeatedly patting it down. You could even use your fingernails to get texture. You'll find something around your house, I'm sure. Just whatever you like to add repeated texture that's similar everywhere, just to cover the whole surface. and do it overlapping. Get it nice and tight because a starfish is full of texture. There we go. There. Okay. And then to make it look like a starfish, I like to add a little bit of a curve here and there and puff out the midsection. And then if you also watch my seashell video, you could make a whole sea-themed decoration. Thanks for watching.